So this is Paige. We are here for our next installment of the Now What series. This week we are going to talk about covers. Last week we talked about editing and the different types of publishing. So if you are done with your first draft and you are looking for something to do while you wait for your brain to clear of your story, this is a great time to start with your cover. So the first thing that you want to do for your cover is you want to spend some time looking at books in your genre. You want to look at Amazon, look at the bestsellers, go to Barnes & Noble, look at the bestsellers shelf there. They usually have the hot books of the week or whatever at the front of the store. Just take some time and see what it is that's really eye-catching in the store. Look at the front, look at the picture, look at the text, look at the logos. Things that are important are the titles in relation to the author's name, just stuff like that. These are all things that you should be paying attention to. And this week I am actually going to use my book, and we're going to talk about the cover of Return to Royalty. So something that was really important with Return to Royalty was finding a picture that was representative of the story. And I'm not very creative minded unless I'm writing, obviously. So pictures, I don't really do pictures very well. So coming up with this particular cover was really difficult for me. And this was actually my third choice cover, and it ended up being the cover that everyone that I asked liked. So something that I've come to learn about myself, and probably all of us as authors in general, is that we don't tend to think like the average reader. What we tend to like, or what we imagine that our book should look like or whatever, is not usually what is going to draw in our readers. So that was something that was really difficult for me to accept, because like I said, this was my third choice. I'll hold it up there so you can see it. This was not my first choice at all. So something that I worked on the designer with whenever we were designing the book was, and I know it's backwards here, but the logo. So since Return to Royalty is the first book in a series, something that's important is your branding. And as an independent author, people are not going to recognize your name. You don't have the power of the Stephen Kings or the J.K. Rowlings or anybody like that. So what really needs to be eye-catching, besides the picture and besides the title, is your series logo. That's something that you're going to need to carry over from book to book so that your readers have a way to identify your series. And then, of course, you have your title, and then my little bitty name here at the bottom. And that's generally the hierarchy that you want to stick to, because like I said, your name doesn't carry any weight yet. So if your name is big and huge on the front of the cover and all they see is E. Paige Burks, they're going to be like, okay, who's that? So that's something that's really important to look at and to think about whenever you're thinking about your cover. Obviously think about your picture. Mine is, it's like a forest, and she's walking into a light, and it's supposed to be like a portal, because in my story there's a portal between two worlds, and she returns to her home world, and that's how she gets there, is through a portal. And when I was working with the designer, they actually put a different girl in the front originally, and I didn't like her, so I asked them to change her, and this is what they changed her to, and then I thought it was perfect. So that's something to think about whenever you're looking at your cover. If you are designing your cover yourself, that's fine. You can use different programs like Photoshop or InDesign or any of the other Creative Suite programs to design your own cover. You probably could do it in Paint if you're creative enough. But you want to keep in mind your trim size. So this is it's a 5x8. So whenever you do your cover, you want to make sure that your margins are within your 5x8 size. And then also, since this is 380 pages, roughly, we'll just go ahead and ballpark it at 400. You have to keep in mind when you're designing your full cover, your wraparound for your back and for your spine, you have to allow the space here on the spine for the thickness of your book. And if you're going through Create Space, they actually have a chart on their website that tells you what the trim size is and what the thickness of the spine needs to be, depending on how many pages you have. So that's a good place to start. And then, of course, on the back here, the designer just made the back look like the front and took the girl off, so you still have the portal image. And then you have your synopsis up here, and then I have an author blurb down here. Originally, when they suggested that to me, I wasn't sure how that was going to look, so you can do that if you want. It's totally optional. Some people like to put it on the inside. It's totally up to you. I just happen to like the way that it looked. And then I have my barcode with my ISBN at the top, and then the Infinity Flower Publishing logo. So those are just the things that you want to think about whenever you're looking at what you should have on a book cover. These seem like a lot of things and they seem really complicated, but when you sit down and you actually start working on it, it's pretty intuitive. It's all things that a reader is going to look at really quickly. You know, it takes them just a few seconds to decide, hey, this is interesting, this is a cool picture, I wonder what this is about, let me turn it over. So your cover really needs to be very snappy. It needs to be that thing that's going to make the reader at least pick your book up and go, what's this about? So you want to make sure that you get something good. You want to make sure that the quality is good. You want to make sure that don't go cheap on your cover. Your cover is one of the most important aspects of your book, if not the most important aspect. So when you're getting ready to think about how much money you're going to spend on your cover, or if you're going to traditional publish or self-publish, take into consideration that your cover is extremely important. If you don't have a really awesome cover, the content of your book doesn't matter because nobody's going to look at it. So then if you want to make a cover that's similar to something in your genre, obviously it's good to have some focus groups, ask people, you know, what do you think about these covers? You obviously want to try to do something that's not the same as everybody else's, but you also want to try to stay in the same vein as your genre. So mine obviously has a very fantasy feel. It's, you know, it's got the magic. The camera quality is not that great, I guess, but you can see like the sparkle here that kind of makes it look like magic, and the lettering and stuff like that. Like, all those things are really important to give off the vibe of the genre that you write in. And let's see, looking at my notes here. Obviously, like I said before, you want to allocate a big portion of your budget to your cover. You don't want to skimp. You don't want to go with just the cheapest thing that you can throw together, because that's not always the best. So if you are not very technologically savvy like me, and you need somebody to do the work for you like I did, there are lots of great options. The company that I worked with is called 1106 Design. They did really, really great work. I'm really happy with the book. It looks fantastic. They're just expensive. So if something like that is not up to, you know, how much money you have in your budget to spend for a cover, you can go to websites like Reedsy, R-E-E-D-S-Y, Reedsy. You can go to 99 Designs. You can also go onto a website called Fiverr, and Fiverr is a great place to look at different artists and see what all they offer, and see what you can look at different people who might potentially fit your need, and you don't have to just settle on one thing. But of course, keep in mind with a place like that, or even a website like Hire an Illustrator or something like that, you want to do your research. You don't want to end up spending a bunch of money for something that you could have done yourself. I've seen some work from some people on Fiverr who they took the author's original idea and just basically did what the author said, and it was not very good, and the author was very unhappy, and they had spent a bunch of money trying to get something that they liked. And so as with anything, do your research. Make sure that you're getting what you want. Ask for examples, ask for a portfolio, ask for whatever it is that you need to make yourself feel comfortable with what you're getting. And then, of course, ask for a contract. Anytime that you have artwork done by anybody, you need to make sure that you have the rights to use the artwork and that you're not going to have to pay the artist royalties or anything like that. You want to make sure that you own the artwork outright. So always ask for a contract that says after you pay for it, you own it and that you can use it however you want and you don't need their permission. That's really important. So just be sure to protect yourself. People are out there to scam you and to take your money, so just do your research. Next week, we are not going to have a video because I am not going to be here. I'm going to be in Mexico and Belize and Honduras. But the following week, I will do 2 videos. Next week, I will have a blog post, and it will be about interior design. And then the following week, I'm not 100% what I'm going to do next. But what you want to start thinking about with your interior design is you want to start thinking about, what are my chapters going to look like? What are my headers going to look like? So this is all part of your interior design, your drop caps and your titles and everything that you see here on this page, and then everything over here on this opposite page, down here at the bottom, all this stuff, that's all part of your interior design. So you want to start thinking about, what do you want the inside of your book to look like? And we will talk more about that next week. And in the meantime, go out, do your research, find a good artist, ask for examples, and don't be afraid to tell somebody no if they're not doing what you're asking them to do. And until then, see you guys next week.